The Turbo and 2K Show.
What's up, 2K crew? Yes, it is indeed that time of the week again. It is podcast day. And man, we've had a lot of big news leading up to today, 2Ks. And then, of course, We kick off the AFC Championship game early today. Now we've got the NFC Championship game going on as we speak. It is halftime, 10-7 Niners over the Rams. But man, oh man, we've got a great show lined up for you guys and gals. So my suggestion is lock in, get a drink. For those of you on YouTube, go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and drop a comment. We'll feature you on the show. And as Pat McAfee says, be a friend, tell a friend. We always like to have new blood to start a conversation. And if you're on the podcast end, go ahead and give us a follow and a like, and drop us a comment, and we will feature you on the show. Well, 2Ks. Like I started out, man, there's been a lot of news.
Yeah.
A lot of news, but let's kind of talk about the AFC Championship game to start out with. It was Chiefs Bengals. We've got the. It's kind of weird to think that Patrick Mahomes is the grizzled vet in all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you compare him to Joe Burrow, which Mahomes is in his like a fourth year now?
Yeah.
Fourth year. This would have been his third straight Super Bowl. And we've got, a quarterback that going into the season in Joe Burrow that a lot of folks just kind of wrote off.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all enamored with Justin Herbert, which rightfully so. Herbert's a dude. I absolutely love watching him play. And if you're a fan of the Chargers, then you're stoked. You got your dude for quite a while. And I don't think we've seen the best of Mr. Herbert, which is even better. But a lot of folks, just because of the injury, wrote off Burrow, and
deservingly so. I mean, a lot in the past, what we've seen is with a knee injury like that, especially that significant, normally takes a whole nother year. So we were kind of expecting this year to kind of be a down year for him, and then bounce back year after that. No, he proved all of us wrong there.
Yeah, he's gone on to, which I do think that even though Herbert had that, record-setting rookie year, I think if Burrow would have stayed healthy, he would have outpaced him.
Yeah.
As far as yards and touchdowns
it's hard to argue that.
Everything like that was concerned, just because Burrow got off to more of a hot start.
Mm-hmm.
The wins weren't there as compared to with Herbert, but the stats were. And then you add in a dynamic playmaker like Jamar Chase, and oh my gosh, you talk about just a machine. And we've seen the ups of the Bengals. We've seen the downs with the Bengals. On the flip side, with the Chiefs, started out very, very shitty. I mean, Mahomes was throwing more picks than touchdowns, still putting up the yardages, but as far as kind of the elite stats, like the touchdown to interception ratio and things like that, really weren't there. He was turning the ball over. The defense was absolutely horrible, and it wasn't until about midway through the season, 2Ks, that we saw that team kind of take a step back and was like, okay, this is what the defense has given us. This is what we're going to take, and we're just going to become that machine now. And then they gradually got better, added a couple pieces on defense to get pressure on the other quarterback. So this team's really evolved. And you and I sat here right before we went live. It's like, man, we really should have stayed on the air during that Chiefs Bills game, because before we left, you're like, 2 minutes left. They're probably going to have 3 more touchdowns. Mm-hmm. You're close. There was like 4. So
4 touchdowns and a field goal. Yeah.
What just a crazy game. I mean, it's one of those games where you could tell the defense on both sides was just gassed, just absolutely gassed. And if you had to give me one to choose, I would have chose the Bills defense to make a stand before the Chiefs did.
Yeah, I mean, it really came down to the coin toss.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me of that game a couple years ago between the Chiefs and the Patriots.
Yep.
Brady was with the Patriots, Mahomes just starting out, and it was and the game goes to overtime, and it didn't even matter. It was all about whoever got the ball in that situation was going to go down and score, and that defense was not going to have an answer for it. And we heard a lot of things all week long about, do they need to change the rules of the overtime? And and I don't know. I can go either way with that. I mean, I get the argument on both sides, but that game might have been in the hundreds. Both teams might have been in the hundreds before somebody would have been able to stop a rebuttal on that. So it was a great game. The only unfortunate thing of the whole thing was that somebody had to lose. You
Yeah.
know, and Josh Allen played out of his mind. Couldn't play. You couldn't ask any more out of him.
No.
Or out of that Bills offense. And it just was sad that they had to lose, but that team will be back.
Oh yeah, I mean, this is something that I I think that there really hasn't been that Brady Manning kind of like you know they're going to meet sometime in the playoffs, and a lot of times that's the best game of the playoffs. Screw the Super Bowl, this game is the best game. So
That game's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to top that game. I don't know if we will throughout that game was great today, but and this game is kind of looking like it's going to be a good game. But I don't see any way that you can top that.
No.
What we saw in the last 2 minutes of that game last weekend.
there was because
And the two most exciting quarterbacks
absolutely
in the game today right now.
we'd stopped recording. You and I kind of chit chatted a little bit. It was the 2 minute warning, and I think you went home.
Yep.
And I didn't even shut everything off. I just went out in the living room, was watching with Kristen, and she's just going because she wanted the Chiefs to win. Which to me, I really didn't have a dog in the fight. I just wanted a really good game, and that's what I was in for.
Sure.
I mean, is it cool to see Pat Mahomes get back to doing what he does? Absolutely. But like we're going to talk about here in a little minute, it's not a bad thing to have some new blood.
Nope,
Not a bad thing. And that Bills team did everything they could to deserve to move on. And just, like you said, the flip of a coin.
Yeah.
The flip of a coin. But Kristen was up, she was down. She was up, she was down. She was up, she was down.
And I thought we were going to see the same thing today when we were watching that game where, you watch the coin toss and the Chiefs win it, and it's just like, God, nothing against. I have nothing against the Chiefs. I all the respect for them, but I'm sick of them. I want to see somebody different. It's time for some new blood. It's really, really hard for me to root against Joe Burrow. I don't know what it is about him, but I love everything about the kid.
Did you see him walk into the stadium today?
Yeah.
That fucking get up. Are you kidding me? How could you not be a fan of that dude? It's like first of all, we really can't call him Joe Cool because that's Joe Montana was Joe Cool before Joe Burrow was even born. So let's not get carried away with that nickname. But for some of the stuff that he's done already, and now his second year, granted his first year was cut short. Second year, with an offensive line that we saw last week give up 9 sacks and still win, he's not Joe Cool. He's like Joe Stupendous, or give me some other adjective to describe him, because he's got ice in his veins. And they were pregame they were showing some of the tapes of him in high school and how elusive he was, and it was a very good segue because we saw that today.
Yeah. He put together the best college season that we've probably ever seen at LSU there, and then they go on, they win a national championship, and here he is in his first full season in the NFL and punches the ticket to the Super Bowl. And I mean, we can go on all day long about how good of a ball he throws and the accuracy but today he had to use his feet.
Yeah.
And it was, and whether it was extending plays and being able to make the throws down the field, or there was two times there on that last drive that they scored on at the end of regulation where he just tucked the ball and ran with it for the first down twice.
Yeah.
And and that's kind of been the knock on him, is he's not, he doesn't have the mobility that a guy like Patrick Mahomes has, or Josh Allen, and he doesn't have that. But he showed today that when he needs to, he can tuck it and he can run and pick it up.
And speaking of feet, your boy McPherson is his name, the kicker?
Yeah.
Oh my God, he just continues. And for those of you that didn't hear the little mic'd up part about him last week, is when he goes to kick the game-winning field goal, he told the backup quarterback, said, "Looks like we're going to the AFC champion or NFC championship or AFC championship," and for a rookie to do that, it's fucking unbelievable. And then, because anybody can say it, but to go back it up and do it, I mean, that is just whole other level.
Yeah.
And for a kid that, and you could say this for most of that Bengals team, it's like they don't know how good they are.
Yeah.
Which is probably a good thing. I mean, you look at the receivers, 3 receivers over 1,000 yards. Mixon was what, the 4th or 5th leading rusher in the NFL. Defense that flies around. It's the only bugaboo of that team has been the offensive line, and they didn't keep Burrow clean today by any means.
No, but they did a better job than Kansas City's O-line did with Mahomes.
Yeah.
I mean, there was more sacks on Mahomes than Burrow. I thought there was some times that today where, and look, this is what makes Mahomes so good too, but I think he held onto the ball a little bit too much.
Yeah.
And some of those sacks, I don't know that you can really put him on that offensive line. Like he was trying to do too much.
He did the same thing in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, and it almost blew the game in regulation when he was, took the 20-yard loss on that sack and coughed the ball up, and luckily his offensive lineman was there to get it, but that was a difference in probably about 20 yards on that field goal.
Yeah.
Just to get the game to overtime. So I thought, he was just trying to do a little bit too much, but it's pretty much the same exact game as what we watched in Week 17 with these two teams, where Kansas City jumps out to the big lead in the first half. They dominate. They look like they're just going to run away with it. And then they can't do anything in the second half. 3 points in the second half is what they scored today. And it's for that offense, it's unacceptable. I mean, we watched them score 3 touchdowns in the last 2.5 minutes of that game last week. And then today to watch them only score 3 points, and they didn't get those 3 points until there was no time on the clock in the fourth quarter.
It's crazy.
This one I think is gonna hurt for them a little bit, and long off season for them.
Absolutely. And for those of you that do follow Pat McAfee show and are a bettor on FanDuel, and if you rode with him on his Super Boost today, it was plus 700, and it hit. So thank you, Pat. Thank you, Pat and the boys, for refueling my FanDuel account. 'Cause it was, I think, about at $12 before that hit. Well, 2Ks, let's talk about some of the stats of this game. Let's hit the screen share button, and there we go. Bengals Chiefs box score. Here we go. And for those of you that did ride on the Pat McAfee boost, the part of the boost was Joe Burrow to throw 250 yards or more. Well, Joey B hit it. Joe Cool, Joe B, Joe Stupendous must have known that because he nailed it right on the head at 250. 23 of 38, 250, 2 touchdowns and a pick. Joe Mixon, 21 carries, 88 yards. And Jamar Chase kind of hung me on one of my parlays. I picked the over-under was 93.5, I think it was, or 99.5 as far as receiving. He only gets 54 yards and a touchdown. P. Ryan, 3 catches, 43 yards for a touchdown. T. Higgins led the way, 6 catches, 103 yards. And we haven't even mentioned Tyler Boyd, Uzama. I mean, the list goes on and on and on for this offense. And flip the script on the other side, Mahomes goes 26 of 39, 275, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. Jerick McKinnon, who oddly, kind of out of nowhere, kind of having a career resurgence here the last quarter of the season, would you say, 2Ks? I mean, the Chiefs have had their running backs dinged up. I mean, CEH has been great when he's in there, but he just hasn't been healthy all year. So Jerick McKinnon kind of comes out of nowhere. It's kind of the saving grace, and he's more of a scat back. He's a tinier dude. He has 12 carries, 65 yards. CEH, 6 carries, 36 yards. And kind of to your point, Mahomes has three rushes for 19 yards, long of 11. Kelsey leads the way, 10 catches, 95 yards and a touchdown. Tyreek Hill, I believe, had the first touchdown, 7 catches, 78 yards. Mecole Hardman, 3 catches, 53 yards and a touchdown. So yeah, it was definitely spread around. But if you're looking at this, both sides, Burrow throws the ball. They have 38 pass plays, 27 rushes. Kansas City goes 39 pass plays to 24 rushes. So not exactly even, but I think in today's game, that's about as even as you're going to get. Unless you are a San Francisco or some of these other rush-heavy teams. But when you got dudes like this, receivers like this, to have that many for both of them, I think is a good thing. But no, I'm to be honest with you, I really don't care who wins this game right here. I'm a Bengals fan.
Yeah, it's hard to root
I'm a Joe
against
Burrow
them.
fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Joe Burrow fan, and yeah, it is very hard to even come close to argue with that. It's like, what's there not to like about him? He's gritty. He's tough. He has that. I mean, obviously, he has that it factor.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're seeing with Jamar Chase, who coming out of LSU in the preseason, the rumor around preseason was he couldn't catch an NFL ball.
Mm-hmm.
He could only catch college ball. I think those rumors and our concerns, you can put those to bed. You can definitely put those to bed. Well, while we're on the stats here, 2Ks, let's look at where we're at on this game here. And if I would have put these things closer, it would have been a lot easier to switch between them. Go to the box score. It is 10-7, about 11 minutes to go in the third quarter. Garoppolo's 9-16, 148 yards and a touchdown. Stafford's 14-24, 130 yards, a touchdown and a pick. Pick came in, they were driving almost in the end zone, so that one hurt. That one hurt. But if you want to look on the plus side of it, 2Ks, it wasn't a pick six.
No.
But it did erase 6 points. Yeah. I mean, they should have scored on that. So this should actually be 14-10, to be honest with you. But is that with that Stafford pick early? Is that kind of, does that waver your confidence in him here in the second half?
When it first happened, it was kind of, it did worry me a little bit. But then the way that he was able to answer that, obviously with the touchdown to Cooper Kupp right after that. And then, like you said, this game should be 14-10. 2 drops, one of them by Cooper Kupp. That possibly could have been a touchdown. If it wasn't a touchdown, it would have definitely got them down inside the red zone on that. And then the throw that he had to, it's Skoronik or whatever his name is in the end zone. I don't know how he missed that. I mean, it was a perfectly thrown ball.
He's a Notre Dame guy. What do you expect?
And but yeah, so that one, they kind of pissed away that chance. It turned out they missed the field goal on that drive. Gave San Francisco the ball, the short field. They got the field goal in the end.
And as we're speaking, OBJ is going off.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about it last week, the addition of him just being absolutely huge. And if it wasn't for him, this team wouldn't be playing in this game. If it wasn't for him, this team definitely wouldn't win this game. And I think that they're going to go on to win this game tonight.
I do too. I took him at -3.5, so definitely hoping for that. But leading the way rushing for San Francisco, Debo has 5 carries, 20 yards. Had that nasty hit right before halftime.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Has he been back?
I have not seen yet. Before I muted the game, it said that, I mean, he was up without his helmet, bouncing around, talking. So it looked like all signs are pointing that he will be okay. But Elijah Mitchell, 6 carries, 14 yards. Brandon Ayuk, 3 catches, 56 yards. Debo did get got the scoring underway for the Niners with a touchdown catch, 2 catches, 46 yards. Cam Akers, which has been, since he's come off the IL, which by all means, Sony Michel kind of held that.
Sure.
Not only held it, but excelled when he was asked to. And in the first round of the playoffs, we had to see a rested Cam Akers, and man, he was explosive. Yeah. I mean, he's just blowing everybody
and
away.
I think that's why we've seen more of Akers than we have Sony Michel as the explosiveness.
Yeah,
he has it. He has the it factor where he can pop one and take it the distance, to where Sony Michel is more of a north and south runner.
Yeah.
No knock on him. He was very, very good down the stretch, but as far as
having both of them, it's a good 1-2 punch.
Yes, exactly.
And Stafford has 1 carry for 14 yards. Sony Michel, 6 carries, 14 yards. Not a shocker that Cooper Kupp has 5 catches, 64 yards, and a touchdown. And I don't know if this is updated, but OBJ, 6 catches, 71 yards. I believe that is updated. So we will keep you abreast of what's going on in this game. But what are kind of your early impressions of this game, 2Ks?
I mean, it's another one of those games where it's just kind of playing into, I think going into this game, I thought the Rams offense would just be too much. And San Francisco went 6 straight quarters without scoring a touchdown through these playoffs. Got one today with the play to Deebo Samuel. Garoppolo has not done anything right now to fuck things up. He hasn't done anything great.
It's true.
Yeah. But he has been. This is a huge play right here.
Yep.
It's going to end up being a huge spot.
It looked initially like he got it.
But the way that where the score is at this point in the game, I mean, you have to believe this is Kyle Shanahan has to be very pleased with where things are at right now.
Absolutely.
Man, this spot is going to be looks like it's going to be really close, and it's going to be a big one.
Yeah, it wouldn't shock me if the Rams do not get this, they challenge it just because. I mean, this is a huge fourth down. I mean, you're just on the other side of the 50, so you are kind of in no man's land. And as we saw in the first playoff game, Stafford is not the best sneaker in the world.
Not.
I think he snuck it 3 times before he got a yard, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a big call here. I mean, wouldn't it be cool for these short down distances? It is short. That you bring in like an Aaron Donald, and just bust it up the gut with him. So yeah, McVay's got a huge challenge here. Does have all 3 timeouts. It's about halfway through the third quarter. So we're just seeing if he is going to challenge it. Yeah, this is going to be huge. But yeah, you would think that even at fourth and 1 or less than a yard, Stafford. I think there was a stat that Stafford up until that playoff game hadn't had a rushing touchdown since like 2009 or some shit like that.
Long time.
So definitely not.
And he has one in each of the games so far. In the playoffs, he's had one. So it's just like, what the? Because I was sitting there before the first game of the playoffs and going back and forth on whether or not I was gonna, just trying to throw out these little bets here and there.
Sure.
Looking at things that are just like where the odds is just crazy, and I'm like,
throw some
Matthew
spice
Stafford
on
was
that
like
parlay.
plus 5,000 for a rushing touchdown. I'm like, and no, he hadn't. And so I like looking at his fantasy stats to see if he's has any rushing touchdowns all year. Look, he's got nothing. He had like 1 rushing attempt throughout the entire season. I'm like, I'm gonna pass on that bet. And he scores one, and they sneak it twice in a row for him to get it, and it was just like, what the hell? And then he comes back out last week and does it again. And so like today, I was looking again. Well, now today it was like plus 600 for him to score. Like,
of course,
the odds have changed big time. So
well, it's like the first round. It was I think it was plus 2,000 for an offensive lineman to score a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'll sprinkle a little here. And sure as shit, it was like the second game. It was a Chiefs game.
Mm-hmm.
Chiefs game, 1 hit. And then later on that night with Buffalo, 1 hit.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, cool. So yeah, the next week it went from plus 2,000 to plus 800.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, go to the well one more time. Nope. And if you look today, I think for today it was plus 1,200.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, you got to realize you went from 8 games to 4 games. Now there's 2.
Yeah.
So the likelihood of that happening, you can kind of see why the odds change like that. But no, I'm this is one of those games where if you are, which I am so happy that a lot of Lions fans have kind of come around to see that Stafford really wasn't the reason the Lions were losing. It was just the Lions are terrible. And they're kind of seeing the Stafford that you and I have seen forever.
Sure.
Because you really can't be a 5,000-yard passer and suck. No. I'm sorry. But during the big games, he does seem to, and they did challenge it and see if it is overturned. No, call stands.
Wow.
Call stands. Huge call here. Let's see if the Niners can take advantage of this momentum swing. But no, Stafford's big thing was he couldn't win the big game. He'd been to the playoffs. He was 0-3, I believe, before this year. Got the first big win. And there's Sony Michel, like we were talking. I don't know why you wouldn't hand it off to him. But got his first win. Had a big win last week. So
yeah, that was a pretty poor effort of a quarterback sneak.
It was horrible.
I think he just kind of stood straight up and closed his eyes and just hoped for the best.
Yeah. Didn't even fall forward. Just stood like this and waited for someone to push him. But no, I'm very happy what I've seen so far with Stafford. Like I said, that drive that did end up with a pick in the end zone was unfortunate, but like I said, it definitely wasn't a pick six. It did take 6 points off, but the way this game is going, Jimmy G's going to turn the ball over here at some point.
I think so. I think so too. I think it's coming. Or he's just not going to make the obvious play. You know, the play is right there,
Right.
and wide open for a touchdown, and he'll overthrow him or throw it just.
Which I mean is basically a turnover anyway.
It's so like I heard the shit all week long. Where I mean, kudos to his teammates and everything for having his back and doing the right thing. But like, the people are like, well, look at his record in the postseason. Like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
I'm so tired of hearing that shit. Like, if any other quarterback was putting, like, if Matthew Stafford was putting those numbers up, people would fucking just trash him, bash him. But people are, it doesn't make any sense to me. They're winning because of the defense. They're winning because they have a wide receiver who's basically their running back who does everything. Their offensive line is fantastic, and their coaching staff is just, like I've said time and time again, they have the best coach in the NFL.
If they had Jameis Winston as a quarterback, they'd be better.
Yes, absolutely. And that's sad.
Yeah. I mean, they're Sam Darnold.
Mm-hmm.
Just throw any insert quarterback here. Jimmy G is like this year's version of Trent Dilfer.
Yeah.
Just don't fuck it up.
Don't fuck it up. And to this point, he has fucked up a lot. They just keep on bailing him out.
Right. I did find it really cool that or interesting that Jalen Ramsey and Robbie Gould were jawing at each other.
Well, Robbie Gould's the leading scorer on this team.
That's true. And they threw up the graphic that he was 20 for 20 in his postseason career, and I'm like, oh, there's the jinx.
Yeah,
there's the jinx. But no, he piped it. So he is 21 to 21. But yeah, if he would have missed that kick going into half, after making the kick in Green Bay to get him here, he would have caught a lot of shit because that one was there's a whole lot more on the line. Weather is atrocious. They're in California,
inside,
not a dome, but there's a roof.
Yeah.
Not a dome, but there's a roof, and it's like 60 degrees out. So yeah, that was there literally is no way you can miss that. But so you're still still confident in your Rams pick?
I think the Rams will win this game.
I do too. Like I said, even though Stafford doesn't have the best record in the playoffs, I trust him more than I trust.
Debo is a freaking beast, though. I mean,
I just hope he gets over 50 yards rushing. But then again, the Rams have to cover. So we shall see. Well, 2Ks, we had some big news. And for those of you following along on YouTube, we just want to say thank you. Go ahead and hit that like and subscribe. But we will keep you abreast of what's going on here in this game because it is, it's still 10-7, so plenty of game to go. But the one that jumps off the page, 2Ks, whether it's true or not, because there's some rumblings that it's not true because it hasn't come out of his mouth. TB12 retired. TB12 retired. And as you know, as a lot of the 2K crew know, I've never been the biggest Brady fan. But the last couple years, I've come to grips with kind of like Kobe. I spent too much time hating him.
I think it's easier to like him when he's not
not New England.
That makes it easier to like him.
Yeah, but even so, you can appreciate what he does.
Sure.
You just it's one of those things. God, you talked about Mahomes winning all the time. Well, I think Brady put that taste in a lot of people's mouths 15 years ago, and all he's done is continue to win. But when you take a step back and just look at what this dude has done, what he's done for the game, and everything like that, you have to appreciate it and take time to appreciate it because it's not going to be here forever. And now we're seeing that, whether it's true or not.
Yeah.
Judging from a lot of the post-game talks and on the him and Jim Gray do a podcast every Monday or Tuesday, whatever it is, he's kind of like, well, I want to spend time with my family, I want to spend time with my kids. And people are like, dude, you led the league in passing touchdowns. How the fuck can you just hang it up? Just hang it up. And if you
going into age 45 season, man, what more does this guy have to do? And man, what a play! Yeah, that'd have been a huge stop. But what more does he have to do? And I kind of think that he's retiring too. And I I kind of thought so even last weekend. I kind of thought he was also. Just his tone has changed. Like the way, like people were talking about retirement with him going before he even became a buck, but he was always like quick to cut that off, and he was quick to say, "Oh no, I'm coming back. I'm gonna play till I'm 44. I'm gonna play till I'm 45. Or shit, I'm gonna play till I'm 50. I'm gonna have all my every finger I have is gonna have a ring on it, on and on." And then this year it was different. Like it just all these rumblings come up like they do every single year, and he hasn't cut any of it off. He's just let it go.
Yep.
And something tells me that if he was not gonna hang it up, he would have already jumped on top of it and said, "Look, I'm coming back." And for him not to do that to this point now, I think he's done.
I think another factor that a lot of people really aren't thinking about is they brought all the whole band back from last year, and a lot of these dudes signed 1-year deals. Would they be able to do that again?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of 1-year deals were out there, and I think it was primarily on the defensive side, but still, with all the injuries,
Holy shit, he did.
Wow.
You gotta stop talking shit about him. Look at that guy, MVP.
Yep.
MVP.
Yep.
Jimmy G.
Well, you know what rhymes with MVP? Jimmy G. There you go. But no, they're
hell.
Just the team around him is going to be different, and I don't blame him for wanting to come back for another year this year, because, like you said, you're going to have the whole band back together, minus AB, but that's neither here nor there. But through all the injuries, through all the ups and downs of the season, I mean, well, that was close.
Oh, that was close.
That was close. But I don't blame him. And you know what? He's earned the right to be like, I want to leave when I want to leave. And if this is the time he wants to leave, good on you.
And I guess for me, because I'm kind of the opposite of you. I've always obviously been a huge Brady fan. I mean, I never was a big Patriots fan, but I'm always been a big Brady fan. Always will be. Shitty. He's a Michigan guy, so. Yeah. But as good as his career has been, what I want to see him walk away and be done on a year where he basically could have. I mean, he's a finalist for the MVP.
Yeah.
Like he very easily could just give him the MVP this year.
Now, do you think they give him the MVP because he's walking away?
I was thinking about that today. And maybe so. Maybe so. And it might piss a lot of people off, but it's hard to argue. I don't think he would get my vote, but he would be right there in the discussion for sure.
Yeah.
With what Aaron Rodgers did last weekend, if the Colts were playing, I probably would have to just say give it to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah,
at this point.
Absolutely. No, I was kicking that around last night. It's like, you know what? Because it's basically come down to a 2-horse race, Brady and Rodgers, and with Rodgers' performance last week, which was kind of dull, wasn't Rodgers-esque, in Brady's regular season, which the MVP is supposed to be a regular season award,
yep.
But we both know that some of your playoff performance does.
I mean, when you have a competition that's so close,
yeah, you got to
look at at what happens in the playoffs, and Brady loses the game last week. Brady was not bad though. I mean, he played a pretty good game that day. The Green Bay Packers, who I think they were the odds-on favorite to win it all. I mean, over Chiefs, over the Bills. They were the team that was supposed to win it, odds-wise. And for them to go in against this San Francisco team and score 10 points, that was pathetic. And I mean, for 2 weeks in a row, I was giving Rodgers all the credit. Shit, I basically had already crowned the guy.
Yeah.
But then
a lot of us did.
He played that game, and you can say what you want to say, and obviously special teams are the ones that just jump off the screen and what happened in that game. But what the fuck did Rodgers do that? He didn't do anything. He didn't have one moment in that game where it was like a Rodgers moment. He was just he didn't even exist in that game. I don't even really remember watching him make a play that entire game where it was like, damn, that was a nice play.
Yeah,
he just sucked.
Well, it's kind of like college when we're trying to talk about the Heisman. It seems like the Heisman winner has that Heisman moment, the one that puts him on the pedestal, the one that separates him from everybody else. And to be honest with you, there really wasn't. I mean, 'cause if you really want to talk about MVPs and separating them that way, I think you got to give it to Mahomes.
Yeah.
With his, and the only reason I'm saying Mahomes over Allen is Mahomes and the Chiefs won
that game. Yeah.
So if you're looking for a defining moment like that, then granted it's supposed to be a regular season award, but we know that that's not always the case. And I think another thing too when it comes to Rodgers is all the off-field stuff. I mean, there's already been a lot of pundits come out and say they're not going to vote for him just because of his stance on everything. Sure. That's your choice. Mm-hmm. I don't really agree with it, but that's your choice.
There's a ton of players that have the same stance as him.
Yeah.
They just don't.
They're just not as vocal.
Yeah, they're not as vocal, and nobody gives a shit about them as much as they do about somebody obviously as big as Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, how Cole Beasley drops rap albums based on that subject, so we're really not bitching at him. But no, there's a lot of factors, and if Rodgers doesn't get it, I think one of the teetering factors that's going to push Brady over the edge is it's his last season.
Oh yeah, and if Brady finishes that comeback last week and they end up beating the Rams in that game, and even though the Rams tried to do everything they could to give that game away,
they really did.
As far as coughing up the fumbles, and Matthew Stafford wasn't a part of that. It was everybody else on the field. But if Brady made that,
it's Dustin.
If Brady would have made that comeback, Brady probably is the MVP.
He walks away with it.
Yeah, I believe so too. And how cool would that be? You win the MVP, and then you announce your retirement. You're done. I mean, not very many guys can say. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe it has happened, but not very many people can say that they did that in their entire carear.
Probably the closest one that I can think of was John Elway, going back to back, and just mic dropping. I'm out. I'm out.
Yep.
I'm out. But let's fast forward 5 years from now, 2Ks. We're gonna have. I mean, Brady is. He should be, like if it was the baseball terms, okay, he should be a unanimous.
Well,
first
don't even get me started on Hall of Fame talk because we can say the same thing about a guy named Barry Bonds, who's the best. I don't give a fuck what anybody says, is the best baseball player to ever walk this earth.
Yep.
And I don't know if we'll ever see anybody better than him.
He's not in the Hall.
And he's not in the Hall of Fame. It's just
he will get there because the writers will vote him in. Same with Clemens.
Well, we gotta wait for all these people now to
old people to die,
and then we can get the younger generation that understands that was a major part of the history of baseball, and there was more players using than not using.
Yes.
There was no rule against using at that time. Barry Bonds was never caught. Reports come out years after it all happened. Now, obviously, we all had our when his head grew about 5 inches in a year, we all kind of thought, I think Barry's juicing. But it doesn't matter. He never was caught, and it wasn't until he was already done playing before anything come out. He put together some of the best seasons that we've ever seen. He changed the history of the game. He brought the fucking game back.
He was a Hall of Fame player before any of that. I mean, that's
exactly
hands down.
And
so was Clemens.
We have, and it's just the not to just get off subject here like I have, but the Baseball Hall of Fame is in trouble. I mean, you start talking about some of these players now that are not, whether you hate them or you love them, but for him not to be in, for Alex Rodriguez is not going to end up getting in, and I hate Alex Rodriguez, but I don't give a fuck. He's a Hall of Famer, and Roger Clemens is not getting in, and I never was a Clemens fan, but I don't give a shit. He's a Hall of Famer.
I was a fan when he was a Red Sox.
Yeah,
Red Sox, but other than that,
and it just don't even get me started on going down the road of Pete Rose not being in, and it just baseball is in trouble when it comes to that category.
But the Football Hall of Fame does things a little bit differently. I mean, I think there's a max that you can put in, but we're going to see two dudes right off in the Hall of Fame. And if you tell me that Big Ben...
It's not said and done either that Rodgers isn't.
That's true.
Isn't going to hang him up.
Yeah. But as it stands right now, two first ballot Hall of Famers, slam dunk cases.
Yeah.
And if you try to argue that Big Ben is not a Hall of Famer, you better bring a lunch, because I'm going to argue that fact till I'm blue in the face.
There's no argument there.
No,
I don't know how you could be a sports fan or follow any sports any bit and believe that guy's not a Hall of Famer. I mean, This is my thing when I'm start talking about the Hall of Fame is that if you dominate your position for a period of time, we'll say a period of time, 5 years, you dominate that position. So I'm talking by dominating that position, you're one of the 3 best players in the league at that position for 5 years, a 5-year span. Fuck, he probably did it for damn near 10 years.
Yeah.
And went through. How many other Hall of Fame quarterbacks were playing at the same time as him?
Yeah.
We're talking Brady, we're talking Manning, we're talking Rodgers, all those names. Big Ben's in the conversation of being just as good as, especially for his career. There's an argument to be made that his career is better than Rodgers.
Accolade-wise,
Yeah.
yes.
Now Manning and Brady, no,
No.
you can't. Drew Brees, another, he's going to be a Hall of Famer. Big Ben's right there in the conversation too, and being a better.
Yeah.
He's got more Super Bowls than both of those guys.
Yep, and he has just as many Super Bowls as Eli. There's a lot of people that say Eli's a Hall of Famer.
I mean, just from what Eli did, and for Eli to have both of his Super Bowls and beat Brady and the Patriots in both of them. I mean, as much as I don't think player-wise and ability-wise that Eli is even in the same conversation as those other names,
You kind of have to put him in.
his success on the field, you can't.
Yeah.
And the longevity that he was a starting quarterback for the same team. And
Except for that douchebag that pulled him out and
yeah,
started Geno Smith or whatever and ruined his streak. But no, I mean I obviously put Big Ben ahead of Eli, and now granted they're out of the same class, but Eli, to my recollection, never led the league in passing, never led the league in passing touchdowns. But did Ben have a better supporting cast? I could probably name 10 Pittsburgh receivers than I could 10 Giants receivers. And the same thing goes for running backs.
And another thing too for Ben is just having the consistency of the same coach, the same staff for long. And with Eli, it was somebody. Coughlin is really the only name that stuck around that they were able to have success with. But then after that Coughlin era, it's just it was
still going on.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're looking at. There's so many NFL coaching vacancies right now that are being filled this offseason. And I would say the Giants have to be the worst opening.
Them are the Jags.
Yeah, and I honestly think the Jags are better off just because the Jags have some draft picks.
Trevor Lawrence.
And they have a quarterback. And you cannot tell me that Daniel Jones right now is the answer.
He is horrible.
Is a franchise quarterback. I just put him in the same conversation as...
Yeah.
And I would actually say this guy's better.
Yeah, Jimmy G is better.
It's better.
Yeah, that's not saying much, but in Saquon hopefully can get back to where he was. We talked about with devastating knee injuries, it's usually the year after. So
especially
this was
with running back, somebody that.
And unless you're Adrian Peterson, who's a freak of nature, that's probably why they didn't give him the ball. Fourth and 1. Maybe we don't know as much as we thought, but no, there's no doubt in my mind. These two guys are just walking off into the Hall of Fame. Might as well get them the jacket ready, get their measurements because, and there's a lot of people that are just put Brady in next year. I mean, but here's the thing with Brady: as soon as you do that, he'll be the one to come back. Yeah, which I don't think will happen.
Yeah,
I think when he walks away,
he's done. He's done.
Yeah, he is just done, and. Could that be one of the best Hall of Fame classes ever with just those two guys? There it is. Cooper Kupp. It's going to be 17-13 right now. It's just started the fourth quarter.
It's going to be another really good game. Yeah. Really good ending right here.
Yeah, it's definitely not as well with these two defenses. You really don't expect a high scoring game, but it's definitely going to be a close game. I mean, hell, the Bengals were plus 7.5. This one was 3.5. So obviously Vegas thought that this was, Vegas got the Bengals wrong because the Bengals won. But they obviously have a little bit more respect for each defense here. So, yep, it is 17-14, 13:30 to go. I think we are going to get another one that comes down to the wire, but you know what? As we've seen 2Ks this whole season.
This postseason has just been awesome. Well, I mean, for us as fans, you can there's not a complaint. I mean, it is just... The only complaints really are watching both one seeds go down and off the bat.
Very disappointingly.
But, I mean, and
very
just for
disappointingly.
both teams just not to show up, really. I mean, just kind of play, just play one of their worst games of the season for both of them.
But yeah, we've seen that Bengals team just kind of ride that emotions, ride that momentum. Which for those people that say momentum is not real, I don't. Have you ever played sports?
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. You can say the same thing about the San Francisco team. They had to win Week 18 just to even put themselves in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They win that game over this team that they're playing against tonight. And it just seems like that team, they got up to such a bad start, kind of similar to Cincinnati. Got up to the bad start, and then all of a sudden they found that groove, and it's kind of, you look back on when the Giants were able to beat the Patriots in those Super Bowls. It wasn't that they were the better team. They were the wild card. They got hot at the right time, and when they were going into playoffs, they were they were the team that nobody else wanted to face because they were hot.
Wasn't one of those Giants teams one of the ones that started out like 0-4?
Yeah.
And made the playoffs, and not only made the playoffs, but won the Super Bowl. So, yeah, for those of you that say momentum doesn't, you are wrong.
Go in and win the Super
wrong.
Bowl over a team that had ran the table and went undefeated throughout the entire season.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody thought that there was any way that team was going to lose.
No.
Especially to Eli Manning and the Giants. And David Tyree had something
stuck up his sleeve that kind of went to his helmet.
And then you go fast forward to the next matchup with them. It was the play Mario Manningham play on the sideline where he's able to drag his feet, keep it, and it was like
he was a Michigan guy, right?
two spectacular plays, two spectacular throws by Eli. And that's the thing. I mean, when you start talking about Hall of Fame quarterbacks, there's Hall of Fame moments, and
yeah, absolutely.
With Eli Manning, he has those moments and Roethlisberger, same thing, and really that's the knock on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
Denver he has great seasons, and he takes care of the football better than any quarterback I've ever seen. You look at his stats, and he throws for 30-some touchdowns and only has 4 picks or 5 picks on the year, and the efficiency of him is just unreal. But where's his big-time playoff moments that he has? He has one Super Bowl and just, I don't know. And that's the only knock you can have on him.
He's like the Greg Maddux, Tom Glavine, that era Braves team, getting to, what was it, like 12 or 13 straight postseasons with that pitching staff, that team, that roster, those rosters, only getting one. Only getting one. Yep. So it happens. It happens. But speaking of Aaron, we kind of talked about it last week, and now there's been, his offensive coordinator goes to Denver as the head coach. Do you think that his relationship with the OC, which is now the head coach and is going to be the head coach, do you think Rodgers has a better relationship? And I mean, in general, I'm not saying at this moment, but in general, do you think a quarterback has a better relationship with a head coach or an OC? I mean, we've seen, take Tom for instance. Tom and Belichick, they were together for 20 years. How many OCs did Brady have? He never left and went somewhere just because of an OC. So I don't take too much into it that.
I don't either. I don't either. I think when it comes down to it, Rodgers is going to make, if he does decide that he wants to keep playing, which I think he is. I don't think he hangs it up now. I think he comes back, but I think he's looking at where the opportunity is, where he has the best chance to make a run for one. We've been hearing about all the cap space issues that Green Bay has. I don't really put anything into the coach. I mean, Hackett going to Denver.
There was your play, 2K. There was your fucking play. You can't short hop a dude. You cannot short hop the dude. Jimmy G throws the ball into the ground, does the Mr. K one bounce rule, and the receiver tries to run with it. But no, I totally
Hackett
agree.
Going to Denver obviously is not going to hurt things.
No,
and
no.
And I think even last year when the relationship with Rodgers and Gutekunst or whatever Gutekunst, whatever his fucking name is, where that relationship was rocky. I think Denver was kind of one of the favorites where he was going to land before. So. Yeah, putting Hackett there is somebody that Rodgers is familiar with. They've had success. It obviously doesn't hurt things, but I think the relationship with him on the floor in Green Bay is also very, very good.
Yeah.
And as far as the play calling goes and all that, I think LaFleur has his thumb on the play calling there, and I think for Hackett to get out of there, and then we see that the other guy, that the quarterback coach, who I think Green Bay probably was pretty interested in hiring him to fill.
Sure.
He follows. It sounds like he's going to follow, or not go with Hackett, but go to the Bears.
Mm-hmm.
I think for those guys, they probably want to get out and go somewhere where they can call the plays and where they don't have somebody. And no knock to that type of coach, but that was kind of why LaFleur got out of L.A. Is because Sean McVay had, when it come down to it, McVay's the one that's calling the shots there.
Sure, absolutely.
Well, I think looking at Green Bay now, and I could be completely wrong. I definitely could be, but I think with Green Bay now, LaFleur calls the plays there. I mean, you have an offensive coordinator and all that, but they're not making those decisions, and LaFleur's just sitting back and not being in on it at all. I mean, he's got the headset on, he's got the play sheet in his hand for every single game. He's not sitting there like fucking Charlie Weiss on the sideline for Michigan a few years back, where he had no headset, nothing in his hands, just sat there and clapped his hands. Or not Charlie Weiss, Brady Hoke. They both overweight and overpaid.
I'm pretty sure Brady Hoke never put a headset on his entire career.
No. All he did at Michigan was clap his hands and smack the guys on the ass when they come off the field. That was all I ever watched him do.
Yeah, but
I said Charlie Weiss. They look the same. They're both they're like twins.
Well, they both look like they're dumb. So, if you are Aaron Rodgers, do you leave a good coaching situation like that and go to a coach that's his first head coaching gig? I wouldn't. This late in my career, I have to say no.
Yeah.
If you're
look at the success with LaFleur.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. You have that trust. You have that past where in success. Now, if it hadn't been successful, then you kind of okay, fresh start, knew this, knew that. But now, to me, it makes more sense if Aaron were to leave. There's a handful of teams before I go to Denver.
Sure. Yeah.
Last I checked, Pittsburgh has a wide open quarterback position. Offensive line is shaky. Skill position guys.
How about this team is playing right behind us right now?
Yeah,
and with the quarterback that we've knocked on.
Yeah, and McVay.
And it would be
McVay's
really,
challenging
really close.
Something else.
Be really, really close to home for Rodgers.
Yeah, but if you're the only thing that would hold San Francisco back from making that move, and if I'm San Francisco, I try to sign him as quick as I can. And is Trey Lance. I mean, you pretty much mortgage the farm for the next 3 years with draft picks. But in my opinion, is Aaron Rodgers better than any 3 draft picks you could get? Yes. Right now, yes. Yes. And if they don't go on to win this game, you're going to hear that. You're going to hear that. You put Aaron Rodgers in Indianapolis. Granted, there's some they would have to do some things with Carson Wentz and his contract and everything else. You have probably one of the best offensive lines in football, the best running back in football, and one of the
up-and-coming receivers.
Yeah,
I mean, Pittman's solid. He's going to be a very good receiver, and with a better quarterback, I think he puts up way better numbers than what he put up this year. And
we've seen a lot of good receivers come in the draft, later in the draft.
And I mean, who's to say that Rodgers goes somewhere, Devontae going with him?
I
mean,
would.
The franchise tag is probably going to play a factor this year, but after this year, Devontae's going to be able to go wherever, and you can't tell me he's not going to be looking out where Rodgers is at when he's making his decision. I mean, why wouldn't you want to get back together with that? So
there would be every team, aside from the Saints, because I think the Saints are like $71 million over the cap going into next year. So probably they're off the table. But every other team, I don't care how good your receivers are, how good this Cincinnati team. Do I think that he would go to sign with the Cincinnati team? No, just because there's so many other dudes. But if they had a chance to sign Devontae Adams, they're like, come on, let's go. So you can't tell me that he can't make. He's not gonna make. He would make every wide receiver room better.
A lot of teams in the playoffs that we were watching that.
Yeah,
I think are gonna would Tennessee Titans.
Yeah.
I mean, they have a phenomenal defense. They have one of the best running backs in the game. They have great wide receiver, and Brown is just a beast. Tannehill is really the question mark there. It's not that Tannehill is terrible. but he's not.
He's like one step above Jimmy G.
You gotta have to win in this league and to win and be consistent and to win Super Bowls in this league. You better have really good coaching and you better have a damn good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking, you need to have an elite style quarterback.
Yeah.
And Tannehill is not that guy.
No.
And it's not that he's awful. And I mean, and Jimmy G, he's pretty fucking awful. I'm trying to kind of be nice and say he's not awful, but he is awful, but he does find ways to kind of win football games. I don't know how you can put both of those.
Oh, they're challenging together, with a fumble. Why would you challenge that? That's you're out of timeouts now.
You're out.
You are out of timeouts. Yeah, that was the dumbest challenge I've ever seen. That was the dumbest. Why? Why?
Yeah. Got a little excited on that one.
Yeah. Look, I got that twitch. I just threw it out there. But no, and the same thing goes with Rodgers. There's probably 4 teams that Rodgers doesn't make better. Mm-hmm. Every other team. I mean, you could probably argue that he goes to Detroit, and Detroit wins a wild card spot.
And really, the more I've thought about it, and I've thought about it a lot with Rodgers and where he goes and what he does, Green Bay is his best bet. I mean, do you really want to leave the NFC and go over to the AFC right now?
No.
Because you got to go through Mahomes, and you got to go through Burrow, and you got to go through Josh Allen.
And you're going to hit at least one of them.
Yeah.
At least one of them.
And those 3 guys have had better moments in the postseason in their careers, in their short careers.
Yeah.
Arguably than you have.
Yeah.
So, where are you at age 38, 39 right now? Where you're thinking that you're ready to outplay those guys? Because you couldn't outplay Jimmy G.
No.
In the San Francisco. So where do you think that you're going to outplay? I think your best bet is to take another run at Jimmy G or whoever. Matthew Stafford in the NFC, because I don't want anything to do with that AFC until I get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. But no, it just seems to me like he did say on Pat McAfee's show that his decision would come sooner rather than later. It's not going to be, there's going to be a standoff and he's going to go silent. And in going from those conversations on Pat's show, the relationship between him and Gunther Kuntz has been extremely better. Probably isn't perfect, but at least there is some conversation going. There is some talking. And LaFleur's come out and said, we're going to do everything we can to keep Rodgers here. Which, if you're Matt, you have to say.
Well,
you have to say.
I mean, in the few games, the few opportunities that Love has had to play quarterback, if they would have been any bit promising, I think you can kind of, maybe it is time to move on. Maybe it's not. Obviously, if Rodgers wants to be a part of this, then we're gonna take him. But
that was almost.
Right now, for those guys in Green Bay, they need Rodgers back because they need to build that bridge and find their guy, their replacement, because I don't know where we're at right now if Love is the replacement.
Stafford just fucking airs this out and doesn't even get it close to Van Jefferson. Whoops. Or OBJ, whoever, because both of them were in the area, but it looked like he threw it to that guy.
And that's why he plays defense.
Yes, because he has no hands. No, don't throw it to stone hands. Yeah, that would have been terrible after a big 4th down stop.
Hey, fuck it, he's doing it again though.
Ooh, man, what a hit! Yep,
and that's gonna be another 15.
Yep, and that's another question mark with this Rams team going forward. Like they're gonna have to re-sign OBJ. They're gonna have to.
Sure, I mean it's huge because you don't know what Robert Woods are gonna get back coming off the injury there.
Even if he comes back, Even if he doesn't come back, this team is way better with, especially the latter part of the season here, where he's kind of figured it out. Him and Stafford have been on that page. And if you think about it, this is the best quarterback that OBJ's ever played with. I mean, don't tell me Eli's better than Stafford.
It was Eli at the end of his career, too. I don't think Eli, even in the beginning of his career, with what Stafford can do as far as with the football talent-wise, they're even close. But we're talking Eli towards the end of his career.
And Baker Mayfield.
And then Baker Mayfield is he's below Jimmy G. And
Yeah, and needs to get off my TV. I am tired of seeing you on my TV.
Yeah.
And
I
you
don't
know
understand why the fucking 32nd best quarterback in the league is on TV more than anybody.
Yeah, and especially since his team stopped playing weeks ago. And that's another big storyline we're gonna have to follow this offseason is do the Browns pony up and pay him. So, and if not, where does he go? Because there's gonna be a whole, even though he is Baker and he got the Browns to the playoffs and he took that step, but granted he was hurt this year, but even I've never been sold on him from the beginning.
No.
I don't think he was deserving of the number one overall pick. But maybe that's why you and I are sitting here and not on an NFL sideline. I don't know. Yeah. But to me, the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the pudding. And it has nothing to do with him being short. It has nothing to do with him being, small in stature. I just think it's his style of play that I really don't like.
He's awful. I mean, there's not really anything. When I look at him and watch him play, it's like, okay, the only good thing I can say about him is he's passionate. He's got passion.
Yeah, he's got a fire.
He got that. Sure. He has that. But when it comes to
being
an NFL style,
what about Rodgers in Cleveland? They got a great defense.
Absolutely. I mean, people were saying before the season started that they had the most talented team in the NFL.
Yeah.
It was just a question mark at.
Cooper Kupp's taking 9 dudes with him.
Yeah. What is it about that guy, man? Like,
where did he come from? I mean,
when you watch him, you're like, what does this guy do? But he just keeps putting up 130, 140-yard games, touchdown or two. Like, it just makes it look easy out there.
I remember during our fantasy draft, I can't remember who took him, but it was one of those things where I was looking like a round before for a receiver. I'm like, Cooper Kupp? I mean, no, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the best. I mean, Triple Crown winner. Couldn't ask for any more. 13th game with 100+ receiving yards this season, most of all time.
Yeah, I mean, when I go back into my fantasy draft, and I can remember going over the pick and having 2 guys in my head, him being one of them, and the other one being DK Metcalf, and I went Metcalf. And I think most people probably would have went Metcalf. You can't tell me.
No.
I mean, now obviously you're like, oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah.
But before the season even started, most people would have went Metcalf.
Well, if you would have looked at their last year's season, DK was a stud.
Yeah.
And now, granted, Cooper Kupp's been playing with Jared Goff his entire career, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, the connection that him and Stafford have now, I don't think anyone could have ever saw coming. And I think that man right there McVay had a very big influence on that.
Oh, for sure.
But they seem to, and now Stafford has the number 1 and number 2 receivers all time in a single season now. And which had Kupp broke it, everyone would have been like, well, it's 17 games rather than 16. Sure. But I think the further we get away from that switch over, and let's be honest, 2Ks, there's 18 weeks coming before we know it. It's just a matter of time. But
man, I do not agree with that play.
No, I hate those plays. I hate those little screen passes with 4 defensive players around the running back. I never understand that.
McVay just said it. My bad. Fuck. My bad. My bad. That's my bad.
Especially when you got trips to the other side. You have.
I think they were kind of thinking that San Fran was going to bring the house there.
Yeah.
But that did not happen. Should tie it up right here.
Yep. This kicker's named Matt Gay, I think.
Mm-hmm.
He's been a stud too. He's been an absolute. I don't think I can ever remember a postseason where the kickers are this good.
Yeah,
this good.
They've played a huge factor in a lot of the games.
I saw. It was on Twitter, and I apologize, 2K crew. I did not put together a Turbo's tweets of the week, but and 2Ks we must be really cool because there's one of those Russian bots in here. It says go. So yeah, he's been banned. But no, there's the one that jumps off the page is Cincinnati's kicker.
Mm-hmm.
Kid's been phenomenal, and Robbie Gould's made a career of being clutch in the postseason. But there's a lot of young kickers that are just I mean, Justin Tucker is probably the best, most consistent kicker in the history of the game. Vinatieri's right there, but I think by the time Justin Tuck hangs it up, he'll have surpassed Vinatieri's records. I mean, he did break the Lions' heart by kicking the longest field goal in history this year. But no, if
It bounces off.
yeah. Well, it's because it was in Detroit. If it was anywhere else, it would have flown past. But yeah, it was Detroit, and just kind of it's that dick tease. Like, oh no, oh yep. It bounced in. But no, and if you follow the Bengals Twitter, I mean, they're adamant. They're like, this is why you draft a kicker. Granted, I think they drafted him in the 6th or 7th round, but I think going forward, you're going to see teams do that more often. Because, yeah, granted, there might be 3 or 4 kickers out of the whole draft class that should get drafted. But a lot of times, they go undrafted and just sign free agent deals. So I do think moving forward, because it's become extremely prevalent this offseason or this postseason too. You need a good kicker. And kickers need to kick very well outside and in the elements. You know, and as a Bears fan, it absolutely floored me when they did not. They let Robbie Gould walk, and then we saw the triple doink to keep us out of the playoffs one year. So it is extremely important. It can make or break a season. And speaking of special teams, I mean, not to beat a dead horse, but Mason Crosby makes one.
Mm-hmm.
That's completely different. If they get that one off that gets blocked, it's a different story. Well, 2Ks, I think that unless there's anything else, my friend, I think we've touched on most everything. We hit the news. We hit the first game. We're talking about the second game. And now we get to see Joe Buck. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Now, a lot of folks do not like Troy on the mic. But one thing I will say is give him a follow on Twitter, because he's actually a pretty cool follow. Probably because you don't get to hear his voice. Well, there's 6 minutes to go. Tied 17-7, 6:49. Tied 17-17. 49ers have the ball. 2Ks, you want to leave the 2K crew with anything? I think, like I said, we about covered it.
No, I've covered pretty much everything. I was going to end the show with my Barry Bonds talk, but I got off kilter in the middle of the show and got to that. So no, I'm done. I got everything. I said everything I need to say.
All right. Well, we'll definitely keep you abreast. And Jimmy G's bleeding from his arm. Looks like he's got blood all over his pants. And Aaron Donald, I think, is about done, and he's about to take this game over. All right, well, 2K crew, we won't leave you hanging. But we will see you next week. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.